Okay. Let's start. Mediach, Mesis, and many Lavim, they're interrelated with Mesis, and we'll see how far we get. HaMitzvos HaMitzvos, she is hilnu midroish, or as Kapach says, milkro, l'avodah zarah, to call out and tell people to be avodah zarah. What's aloyma sheyidroish v'yikra? In Kapach, it's in Ibn Tibet, it's anoshim. So I thought it's better to put a lamed as Kapach has, because besides that, it's not clear that the person, the madiach, is acting on third parties. Sheyikol la'anoshim la'avoidasa v'yizalzim alzeh. V'afal pi shezeh hadoresh or zeh hakireh lo ya'aseh pu'ulo mi pu'ulois zulas hadrisho. All he did was to be kireh that they should be over avodah zarah, or doresh should be avodah zarah. Lo ya'aseh pu'ulo zulas hadrisha eleho. V'zeh nikra im doresh elo madiach. V'oma yisale yotzu anoshim b'nei Belial mikirbecho v'yadichu es yeshvei irom lemo. This pasuk tells you nothing. It's just a description. It's not a lav. We'll see the lav later. So all is a description. It tells a story. Yotzu anoshim b'nei Belial mikirbecho v'yadichu es yeshvei irom lemo. And they said something about the Yover Avodah Zarah. The Rambam, that he takes a stance that the Madiach does not have to be over Avodah Zarah. The Minchas Chinuch comments in Mitzvah Tav Samach Daled v'Dovazeh Avshele Ovdu Amadichin Minayin Yotzel Rabbeinu Haram Ayin Kesef Mishnah. The Kesef Mishnah has the Pshat. V'ayin b'Sefer Mishnas Chachomim the Dochol Chosa Yotzes. Is it a raya? Is not a raya? Because of time macherim, and he says different reasons. Ayin Divreim. So he says, Al Koponim Adin Emes. Whether it's this way or that way, whatever it is, the Ram, it's true that they don't have to have Avodah Zarah, and that's what it is, and that's what Ram says. And all he's interested at the moment now is whether he has a name, Madiach. V'zeh nikra im dorash el ha'om Madiach. V'om yisal yotz anoshim b'nei Belial mikirbecho v'yadichu es yeshvei irom lemo. Now, the Ram says, Vim dorash le'echod. So I added the lamed over here, because also we want to make it clear that the madiach is, or the maces is acting on a third party. In Ibn Tibet, the dorash echod, so it almost you can make the mistake that one person is dorish instead of two. That's what he's talking about. And Kapach says Korah le'echot. So Lamed is certainly in place. What it's Dash or Korah, l'chayr is irrelevant to me at the moment. But the important thing is the Madiach is acting on the populace. And here it's a singular individual. Le'echod min anoshim nikomesis. See, here's an amazing thing. V'omer yisale ki yisischa or chicha benimecha. B'dibureinu b'mitzvah zo omnam hu b'madiach. In this mitzvah Torah madiach. However, there's someone called Mesis, and we'll talk about him in the next mitzvah. And there's nothing over here except for definitions. We're not talking about Isurim yet. You know, it is true at the beginning, he says that his hinu midrash la'avodah zarah, there's a lav, but we haven't mentioned at all what the lav is, and that he starts defining who the derish is, who the madiach is, as opposed to who the mesis is. So, in Rambam, you know, see, the question is, what about if he calls to two people instead of one, okay? Because at the beginning, the Ram says, just plain, yeah, she yidrosh v'kol anoshim. He doesn't say how many. And here he says, le'echod. So it's not clear at all what happened. What to put the stress on. So you could say that if you're meis l'shnayim is not mesis, but mediach. And the truth is, I'm not sure how much is in the Rambam, but the chinuch seems to take this approach. Sefer chinuch, mitzvah pezayin, umi shelo hidiach be'inyan zeh, el odom echod, eino niko mediach el mesis, because it's one. Who besay derei anochi nichtav azhoras mesis, be'ez Hashem belav chafalev, mitzvah tov samar beis, okay? Avo geshim mediach shnei anoshim o yoiseh, niko mediach. So the chinuch takes the position there's a difference between 1 and 2. In the Rambam, where he says, see, besides Lanoshim, if you look further, after Lo Yaseh Pu'ul Me'apuloi Zulas Adrisha Eleho, V'zeh Nikra Im Dorash El Ha'om Madiach. So you have in a purely of a multitude. And Echod is not a multitude. We have to define what a multitude is, but it's not clear at all that the Rambam prescribes to the chinuch that is dorish l'shnayim, that all of a sudden he becomes a madiach instead of a mesis. And the Ram, you can say it's a question of whether it's rabim or yochid. If it's dorish l'rabim, it's a madiach. If it's dorish l'yochid, it's a mesis. The Rambam defines in Mishnah Torah what Rabbim is. In Hilchos Avodah Zarah, Perek He Halacha Beis, and he has the following halacha: Hamesis es roiv anshe ir harei ze mediach. You're pushing the mesis. You're not mediach. You're mesis, whatever that means. You're mesis. Roiv or ir. Once you hit roiv or ir, you call mediach. Harei ze mediach. The difference is roiv or ir, not roiv or ir. I would say, and I'm a little bit perplexed by the chinuch, that it's a mefurish Gemara that madiach is rabim And I don't think the multitude means a question of one or two. The Gemara in Hejin Peitesim Beis, where it's discussing the source of the Chiyuv Skila of Madiche or Nidachas, because there's no Mefurish Pasuk about it. And in Machukas Tanoim, whether it's Skila or Chenek, so the Gemara says the following. I think it's according to Rab Shimon that he learns that it's Chenek. Voligmim Mesis. Why don't you say the Madiach is Skila like Mesis? Don in Mesis Rabim, mi Mesis Rabim. The ain't done in Mesis Rabim, mi Mesis Yochid. So the conclusion is that a Mesis is a Yochid and a Madiach is a Rabim. You don't need a Rabim, you don't need a Chinuch to state in the Gemara. So here you have an amazing thing that the working premise over here is that the whole difference between Meis and Madiach is only in the number of people that he has that he's trying to persuade. But still, the only difference is in numbers, and still the Ram says that Mesis and Madiach are two mitzvahs, two hashoras in Minyan HaMitzvos. So the question one should ask, I think, unless maybe I'm missing the point, is, didn't we learn in Shiur Shvi that if you have various possibilities or permutations or ways of being Mekayim a mitzvah or being over an Aveira, but it's basically revolves around the same thing, it's all one mitzvah. And we find this in Shiur Shvi by Eishes Ish, that there's three expressions of Eishes Ish, and it's only one lav of Leisinov. We have Eishes Ish, the Poshet Eishes Ish. We have Nar Murasa, different dinim, and there are Bas Klein Shizinsa, a third din. Even though they're separate parashiyos, there's still mitzvah achas because of Shiur Shvi. There's three permutations of the lav lesinov. So why don't we say the same thing over here? That Meis Madiach is an ashora achas, and the two permutations of that ashora. So a priori, one might have said that this question is only according to the words of the Rambam in Minyan HaMitzvos, but Mishnah Torah, there are other differences between Mesis and Madiach. Because the Ram says in Mishnah Torah that the din of Madiach is only if he was successful to cause the other people to be rid of the Zohar. As the Ram says, in Perek Dal of Hilchos Avodah Zarah Loch Aleph, Madiche ir mi Israel hari elu niskolim ava pishalo avdu Avodah Zarah ela heidichu as Yeshvei Iram ad she'ovdu oisa. They don't have to be over avodah zarah, but the populace does. And by mesis, the chiyuv is because he's trying. He's trying to be mesis. He's trying to get them to over avodah zarah. And you know, there's no din that he has to be matzliach in his in what he tried. In Madiach, he has to be. Ameis echem Yisrael, bein ish, bein isha, hari ze niskal, af al pi, shelo over amesis, below hamusas, avodah zarah, ervinei shehoreu la'avod. So l'chayra, it's cholok be'etzmi seidinai. Or that the Madiach is someone who gets someone to be avodah zarah, and the mesis is a person who tries and maybe he's not successful. And l'chor, that's the passion of the law, that the word mediach is successful. He knocks him down, mediach, whereas mesis, he's trying to convince him and not necessarily successful. I saw in those people and those that work on the Pshuto Shemikah and the words, I saw just an example of what you might do here. I saw him Shamshu for Hirsch and his Pirush on Dvarim Yud Gimel Yud Daled V'yadichu Nidach U'Nida B'Hiroa Mugberes Nida Meira Al Richuk U'B'Yichur Al Richuk Ishi separated Mekan Nidach HaMeira Al Afroda Mekaimis Gemura V'Yidiach Hasosa LeBegida Shall also Yofa. He says, Hidiach is you were successful. Keneged Zeh Sus in Samach Vov Sof. Shuhu Shoresh Yisischa. Hu Korv Lezud Seid Sud Umikan Sus Nisoyen Ladia. Hamesis locate es Ha'odam Bi'omo Kedei Luchosh es Liboy Lamatom Mesuyemes. But he's not that successful. He should have said according to this. If you, according to Minyan HaMitzvos, the whole difference is in numbers, so you have a problem. What happened to Shiur Shvi? But Mishnah Torah, it's Cholok Be'etzim Yisodina. Mediach is someone who's successful, and mesis is just for trying, the two separate things. And maybe that's enough to make them two mitzvahs and Minyan HaMitzvos. So, this might sound nice, but it's wrong. Because the Rambam's din that the difference between Meis and Madiach, which I just was suggesting, is only a Tanai in the Chiv Misa of Skila. Okay. However, the Chiv Misa of Skila. However, it might not have anything to do with the law at all. The Rambam Perek Hey, Hamesis Reivan Sheir, Harize Madiach, V'Eino Nikol Mesis. So if his Mesis Reivan, what did he do? He wasn't successful. He's called a Madiach. He's not called a Mesis. So even according to Rambam Mishnah Torah, the definition of Madiach is in terms of numbers. So what do you? So what's the whole discussion before? The discussion before that the Rambam that Mediach is Madiach over here and Mesis doesn't have to be successful at all. That's in terms of the Chiv Misa. But it's very clear in the Rambam that someone's Mesis over here, even though they weren't Eved Avodah Zarah at all, it's called a Madiach, not a Mesis. And that's the Rambam Perek in the Tnai, in the Chiv Skila, is the Ram Perek Dalet of Hilchos Avodah Zorah Loch Aleph. The Ram says, Madichi Yisrael, Hari Elu Niskolen. Afal Pi, Shelo Ovdu Avodah Zorah. Elo Hidichu, Es Yeshvi Irom, Ad Sheovdu Oisah. And the Ram is very clear. Hamedicha Ir Yisrael, Hari Elu Niskolen. They're always talking about it tonight in the Chiv Skila. So you can't use the Ram Mishnah Torah as a wedge and say, oh, I understand that it's Chol Betzim Yisoidino and with the Pshuto Shamikra that there's Madiach and there's Mason and this and that. It all doesn't hold water. All these dinim are dinim in the Chiv Skila, not in the Shem Mason and Madiach. And that's the Ram is very good over here. In HaMitzvos, he's talking about definition. What's the definition of Mason Madiach? He's not talking about a chiyuv. So the definition, the difference to your definition of Mason Madiach is only in terms of the number of people that he's trying to persuade. So Rabbi, we're back to where we started. And the truth is, well, it looks like a very strange thing, I'm asked what's the difference, and he tells you the difference, and the truth is that's what the Gemara, and the Gemara is very clear, that the difference is only in terms of numbers. So it's only in terms of numbers. So why should it be 2 ascholas in HaMitzvos? Let it be as Shiur Shvi. So what I'm thinking a moment, I was part of this kasha to no end, and maybe I'm off I didn't see anyone ask the kasha. Maybe I just missed the boat. I don't know. So what I thought is the following. We go back to Mitzvah Say Nun Zayin. The Rambam asks this kasha about Pesach Rishon and Pesach Sheni. In the Mitzvah Say of Pesach Sheni, the Rambam says like this: Ubekan yesh lemakshe sheyikshe olai v'yoyma elai loma zeh timne Pesach Sheni v'zeh seise ma shehikdamto b'shirish hashvi b'yomucho shedin HaMitzvah lo yimna, or kilu the various efanim to mekayim the mitzvah lo yimone mitzvah b'fnei atzmo. That's the question. It's again Shiur Shvi. So the Ram says like this: Yeda makshe kushizois shachachomim kvar cholku b'Pesach Sheni im yeh dinoi kedin Pesach Rishon. Is it just another permutation of the same mitzvah? Or hutzivui nema ba'atzmoi? Is it a separate mitzvah or it's a permutation? Uposka alocha shutzivui nema ba'atzmoi. So it could have gone either way. It could have been one mitzvah, and there's 2 permutations. There's Pesach Rishon and Pesach Sheni, or it could be 2 mitzvahs. It depends on how you look at it. And the Matiki Ashmur paskined and looked at it as if, what he says, Yeda makshe kushizois shachomik kvar cholku b'Pesach Rishon im yeh dino kedin Pesach Pesach Sheni dini kedin Pesach Rishon or hu tzibui nema ba'atzmoi uposka halocha shu tzivu nema ba'atzmoi uchein roi limno isai b'fnei atzmoi. So it means, even though you could have looked at something from the spectacles of Shiur Shvi, and decided it's one mitzvah, but the Matiki Ashmur can say really it's two separate mitzvahs. So I was wondering, maybe the same thing happened over here. Because the Matiki Ashmur in the Gemara and Sanhedrin seem to say there's a Azorah of Mesis and there's a Azorah of Madiach. The Gemara and Sanhedrin, and the purpose of that l'chayra is to say that two separate Azorahs of Minyan HaMitzvos. Tov acher lo yishoma apicho Azorah l'Mesis u'lemediach. So first it starts an amazing thing, that really it's an Azorah for both of them. Lo yishoma apicho. So maybe it should have been only one mitzvah Minyan HaMitzvos. And l'chayr, it's good for the question. Well, the whole start, Sherish me, Azorah l'Mesis u'lemediach. So then, for some reason, the Gemara says, Mesis behedik simbe, v'chol Yisrael yishmu v'yirou, which is referring specifically to Mesis. Elo Azorah l'Mediach. It means lo yishama pichas Azorah to Mediach, and it's a separate Azorah for Mesis. I just see, even if what I'm saying is true, I don't get it 100%. What I mean is I don't get the rules. The question, which I'm perplexed by, is, for example, in Pesach Rishon and Pesach Sheni, do we say that it's two inyanim? Or even though a priori it could have been one inyan, but the Kabbalah is that they're separate. They stand on, each one stands on its own 2 feet, and therefore it's two mitzvah Minyan HaMitzvos. What I'm basically asking is the final rule. In other words, Inyonei HaTorah, a very important rule in Mikveh mitzvahs. But is it always Inyonei HaTorah? Or if there's a Kabbalah that it's two mitzvahs, even though it's one Inyan HaTorah, it's two mitzvahs? For example, we had the issue of Tefillin Shel Yad and Tefillin Shel Rosh, and it's not clear at all whether it's two Inyanim and one Inyan, but it's two mitzvahs, because Chazal call it two mitzvahs. You look at Pesach Rishon, and what's going on over here? Is this really two Inyanim? That it's Yochid, the Mesis of Yochid, the Mesis of Rabim? Or the fact that there's a Kabbalah, we look at the difference in Yochid as Rabim is two Inyanim? I'm not sure. I'm not sure how you flip this and how you can it. I mean, you could say either way. I don't have any eyes about this. So I just want to dispel a teretz which I thought of, which I think is wrong. Okay. So I thought maybe since it oinish skila by Mesis and an oinish skila by Madiach and the separate oinshim, so ein oinshim the kamasirin. So each oinish, as I said many times, each oinish mechayev is mechayev its own azhara. So it's very simple why it's two lavim. I think that's a mistake. And I'll tell you why. See, if there would have been two parshas of Einshim in the Torah, a parsha of Einish of Mesis, and a parsha of Einish of Madiach, So I can say, so each one requires a separate asar. True, there's a mafush ashar in the Torah of Mesis, but Madiach is just a gzeira shav adocha. As I point out, the Gemara said hedging and pay test. So learning out from a drasha of adocha, or learning out a different drasha, to learn out whether it's chenek or skila, whatever the oynish is. So I understand this drasha is a pirush makubal, but is that enough to say that two separate oinshim and that say einch kin masirin to machayev a separate lav? It's not clear to me that we should say this at all, but maybe I'm wrong. I had another option, but I think it's also wrong. That the Azhara of Mesis logically could not apply to Mediach. Because in the posik of the Azhara of Mesis, in that posik, it says that B'chol Yisrael Yishmu, but in the B'chol Yisrael Yishmu V'Yiro, before that it says Hanishorim. This is Hanishorim. You listen to the Ramban, then I'll explain to you what I mean. The Ramban, in other words, there are people who are left over that should watch the spectacle and should take notice of it. The Ramban in Dvorim, in Perek Chafal of Posik Yitches, v'chein hiski b'mesis, l'fishu nerag b'diburo hara bilvad, af al pi shelo ovad anisus avodah zara, v'leishomei lo, avu misaso liyaser hanishorim. And that's, what does it mean, the Ramban, liyaser hanishorim? And that's b'chol Yisrael, yishmu v'yiro, the nishorim. But here on the dachas, there's no nishorim. Because the Madiach nidochim anerogin, and the whole year, and there's no nishorim. So you need asho acheres, and that's leisham apicho. But that's wrong, because we have that Rambam that Mesis Roibo Yir is called the Mediach. And L'cheira, he's over the lav of Leisham Apicha, as the Ram says, that he's called a Mediach. I'm not sure how strong this is. Maybe it's okay, because you have to understand the Mesis Roiboir is not Nisko. You see, but on the other hand, let's be frank. Once we say the difference between Mesis and Madiach is about the numbers, not about the skila, so the whole discussion of whether he is niskal or not niskal is irrelevant. On the other hand, it's very confusing, because the lav of B'chol Yisrael Yishmu V'Yiro And as the Ramban says, so the whole din that there's a separate law of maces is liyasa nishorim, even though there might be a case of maces without skila. So I'm not sure how you evaluate this. You evaluate the option with skila, without skila. I'm not sure what this is. So maybe there is something in this. I mamish don't know. Okay, I was taking a stab at this. It's a real issue. You have to ask yourself that since the Maisa, the whole difference between Maisa and Madiach, according to the Rambam, is only in numbers. And the two separate lavim in mitzvahs, why should it be? Let it be two permutations of the same mitzvah. So it's just that the mashmos of the Gemara and Sanhedrin, that they learn two separate asholas, the Kila Matiki Ashmur said the two separate dinim. It's not very exciting. Okay, next. You see, just another issue I'd like to ask you. According to the Maskon of the Gemara and Sanhedrin, there's Azor lo yishoma al pi chogak b'mediach, and l'chera there's no relation lo yishoma al picha. It says any mention of the Zohar. Why should it be dafka mesis? I mean, why should it be dafka mediach? So l'chera it's only because ain't shouldn't only came out here. Ain't oinshin only came out here. Because there's no kesher between mesis or mediach and lo yishoma al picha. It's only because of ain't oinshin came out here. But this whole idea that you make the lav as a lav of mediach l'einshim kin masirin is only shaykh by mediach, not by mesis, because mesis you have mufurish lav. But on the other hand, that's what I would have said. But the Braisa then is impossible. Because the Braisa is Dova Acher, Lo Yishoma Apicha as whole the Mesa Mediach. So why should it have been? How did that happen? And the only problem is Mesa's Behedik Sibbe. But if it wouldn't have been like that, it would have been as whole for Mesa Mediach. It would have been one lab, two lab. I'm just not sure how to read the Gemara. Now, this I think was one of the. I'm just walking through this. My head is just I get dizzy just thinking about this. The kasha is much better than the answer, unless you say that's the Matik Yashmur said. But if the whole difference again, the whole difference in Mesa Madiach is only in terms of numbers, and you can have a mesis of Roy Voyer, and he's called a Madiach. So why should it be two separate labim in mitzvahs? Next. Now I'm going to point out Minchas Chinuch. The truth is, I never would have said it. I never would have said it. But he claims that according to the Rambam, to be a Madiach, you require all the all Tnai Ironidachas. And I'll read to you. Minchas Chinuch, Mitzvah Pei Zayin, Ois Aleph, V'nir Poshet, Das Horror, Shehoitzi L'Mediach, Hainu Be'efen, the Shaykh Din Ironidachas. The Ashor he's talking about of Mediach is only if it's Shaykh, the Din of Ironidachas. Avo Be'inyan, the Ein Nidoinen Kinidochin, if the people are not Nidin of Nidochin, the Madichin Ein Nidoinen Kimadichin, Ein B'char Zozu, the Ein Shas V'ram Kamadinim, so Shia Madicha Mitoicho, Uboise Shevet, all the dinim Ironidachas was said as far as the law. This, frankly, to me, is absolutely amazing. I would have said all these dinim are as far as the chiyuv of Ironidachas, but that's for the chiyuv of Madichin. And I would prove to you from the Rambam Mishnah Torah that the Ashoras Madiach is even without the Tanai Chiyuv Ironidachas. Ram Perkei of Hilchas Avodah Zarah Locha Beis HaMesis Reivan Sheir Harizeh Madiach. They're in the Komesis. See, he's B'chal Ashor. You know, you could ask a question, we'll see where it's also not true. Maybe the Chiyuv Misa of Madiche Ironidachas only if there's Ironidachas. Maybe. But the Ashora, there's Ashor for Mesis, here, even though no one was Nidach. As they state in Rambam. Now also, there's a din that Madichim have to be Lashon Rabbi. And if you look carefully at the Rambam only brings this din as far as to establish the city as Ironidachas and the Chiyuv Misa in the ear, but it doesn't quote it for the Shem Madiach and the Hashora and the Chiyuv Misa. Because the Ram Perek Dalet of Hilchos Avodah Zarah Locha Hey Ein Ois Ironidachas Ad Shedi Yadichu Ha'ir B'li Kol Tnai. No, excuse me. Ad Shedichu Mad. Excuse me. Ein Ois Ironidachas Ad Shedichu Madicheho B'Lashon Rabim V'Yomu Lehen Neilech V'Naver. He's quoting in the din of Ironidachas, not quoting as far as the Madichim are concerned. And it's only a din in the Ironidachas, not in the Madich. He doesn't quote in Alocha Aleph. In Alocha Aleph, he quotes the din in the Madichim. And then later he quotes the dinim in the Chiyuv Ironidachas. And that's what he has in Alocha Aleph. And that's the Madiche Ironidach mi Yisrael Hari El Niskolim Afa Pishal Obda Avodah Zarah El Eidicho Es Yesh V'Iram Ad Shiavda Avodah Zarah. Doesn't say B'Lashon Rabim, B'Lashon Yochid. It doesn't. That Lashon Rabim is only din in the Ironidachas. It's nothing to do with the Chiyuv and the Lav on the Madichim. That's what I would say. Now, here we're going into what I would have said is Netherlands. Okay, so you know that the whole difference between Mesa and Madiach is only in terms of the number of people, but Mesis and Madiach are to make someone try to convince someone to have Avodah Zarah. A different Avera has nothing to do with Mesis, nothing to do with Madiach. So let me share with you a Gemara Sanhedrin and a Rambam in the Vuchim, and I must say I'm perplexed. What can I do? Gemara Sanhedrin, Chav Testament Aleph. Omer Rebbe Shmuel Bar Nachman, Omer B'Yonasan, Minayin she'ein tonin l'mesis. How do you know that you don't say tinus tinus of schus for the mesis? How do you know such a thing? Minachashat kanmoini. From the original serpent, the Omer Rabbi Simloi, how about tinus hoyloi lenochash litoin v'leitoan? There are many things he could have said. Why was the Rebbeinu Shalom Melamed Chus a Psach Pichol Ile? Ubimini Ma Loiton Lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu Ubimini Shaloiton Hu. Back the Gemara, my Havalei L'Meima, Divrei Arab, Divrei Atal Mishoimin. What do you want from me? You should listen to the Rebbeinu Shalom, not me. I'm only a Talmud. And who is she? Listen to Divrei Arab Shaimin. So I'm not responsible for anything the Nochash community could have said. So the Masis in the Gemara, he was a Masis to be eaten the Eitzadas, nothing to do with Avodah Zarah. Maybe Al Pi Kabbalah, maybe there was Avodah Zarah. I hasten. It's hard for me to swallow, but L'cheira Mace has nothing to do. The Gemara seems to say there's Mace even though there's no Avodah Zarah. The Rambam in Mo Nevuchim has not by Madiach, but the dine of Ir HaNidachas is not Dafka B'Avodah Zarah, but by Shar Averis also. Because he says the Misa Cherev of Ir HaNidachas is a Misa of Kofrim. The Rambam in Nevuchim, Chelik Aleph, Perek Mem Aleph. Chelik Gimel, Perek Mem Aleph. Va'afilu ochal odem Yisrael, Bosa B'cholov, Oy lova shatnis, O hikif pas horosh, Lebizoyin hateira, Mipnei das, she's boyer, Mimenu, she'eno mamin, she'zois hateira emes, Hu etzli hanemo olav es Hashem hu megadev, v'yoreg misas kfira, loy misas oynish. Ka'an she'ir hanidachas, she'yehogu misas kefrim, loy misas oynish. Ulezeh memoinom b'sreifa, v'enom liyosheim, kishahu gibezdim. Then he goes on and he says the following. V'chein ani oimer, be'eda mi-Yisrael, shezodu la'avol eize mitzvah shetiyeh, if a whole kehila, of a whole Eda violates a mitzvah, v'osa oise b'yod romo, yehogu kulam. He says, V'chai l'dovo, Iyi b'nei God b'nei Ruven, shebo mehem, v'yoyme kol ha'eder la'alois aleim l'tzovo, v'achal kein bei Elohem בש"ס עשרו, שהן כבר כופרו, והסכימום על עבירה היא, וכופרו בתורה כולו. והוא אומר להם, לא שוב היום מאחרי השם. והשיבו הם גם כן. אם במרד, if it was במרד, you're 100% right. But, you know, if you misunderstood, they said misunderstood, whatever it is, it's a question. I remember the Rav, you pointed out that you learn out, or maybe the Samech also, you learn out the dinim from Dachas, also in this Parsha Yeshua. It's a Parsha Yeshua that they made this, the Bnei Gad, Bnei Ruvain, that they made this Mizbeach, and people, and Bnei Yisrael thought they were Makriv Chutz, and they wanted to kill them because there's no Bama Sibo, it's Tomei, there's no Bama Sibo in Eva Yaldin, whatever the reason is. So the answer was they didn't do it for Akrova, they did as Edus, that they shouldn't be Makriv, the Sefer. But the Ram learned from that they would have had a dinner on the Dachas. I don't know where to push the Yid. The push of Shad Ram over here is the Din Madiach, is by Avodah Zarah, and the Din Meis is only by Avodah Zarah, and he brings together Din Avodah Zarah. Place. Next. Now here is a problem. Your maces, there's a crazy question. It's not a crazy question. No. I just don't know how to deal with it. It's a very simple question, which Mefchiz also asks. You come up with son, in your maces, one guy, and he wasn't even Avodah Zarah. So what do? You kill the maces because he was, he tried to be Madi. He tried to be maces for a person be Israel. What happens with the maces? Is maces loyveir and they're not nidach? He's maces Rave -1, okay? -2, okay? The kids is not Rave. The Rave, he wasn't Maces. But only part of the year, a major part of the year, he was Maces. He's not Chayiv Misa. Each guy, he was also Maces. And each one of them, he's Chayiv Misa. But he's Maces. No, he's called the Mediach. He's not chayiv. It's a very crazy thing. That's Ram Perek He'alach Beis. In Avodah Zarah, Mesis Loiv Yad Sheir. How is it Mediach? They don't become Mesis. And since Loiv Yir had not the skull, so in the Chiyuv Misa of Mediach, the Hadocha is a T'nai in the Chiyuv Misa, as we said before. And that's the Rambam. Madichiyim Yisrael, Hariyim B'skir, Lapi Shelo Avdu, Avodah Zarah. Eleidichu. As Anshe Avdu. But this Mesis was not Mediach, but he's called the Mediach. See, so he's not Chayim Misa. So Nimsa that he's Yotz B'chal Mesis to become a Madiach Lahakel. So he's not Chayim Misa. It's an amazing thing. So Minchas Chinuch asked a similar question to this and comes to the conclusion it's Kseres HaKosa. Minchas Chinuch in Mizatov Samach Beis or is Aleph who beloy Atanoim Nira Deinoin Shel Madichim. But V'tepel l'chayim mishum mesis, just the opposite. The noshim chayovim gam kein, v'chein afilu lo yavdu, v'chein shar tanoim shein tzorcha mesis. Uvu lehedya, perek zayin alochavav, tim lo yerubam nidochim, ein oisid dina b'madichin. Because if that's true, okay. Because it's chayvu mishum mesis, al kochach mesis rak liyochid. Ulurabim ein loy din mesis rak medich. Utzir kol atnoich is balo gam medichim perek dal. That he's assuming that it's like that you require all the tnoim v'yidachas, which we said might not be correct, but still you certainly require nidochim. V'im loy nishlamu kol atnoim einam chayovim ki mesis eino rak liyoch yichidim ulo l'rabim. V'efshar atam the rab loy mimshechei. So once you deal with rabbim, one level year minus one chatzu year, that's not rabbim. That's rabbim loy mimshechei. And then he says, "Ugzeres akosavu." So I remember once commented, they never. The Zayda Rab Chaim had a problem, didn't know the answer. It's Ugzeres akosavu. Love used to have a different way of saying it, whatever it is. But this is very difficult. Mimshchei, lo mimshchei. Next. Umgos Sanhedrin, Omru, Umgos Sanhedrin, Lo Yishal Apichas, Ho Lemesis, Mes Behedik Sibe, Ho Yisol Yishmov Yirov, Yosifun Oid, El Azhoras Madir. So he quotes like this, and maybe that's the reason he explains that it's two mitzvahs. I don't know. V'chein Omru b'mechilta, the Rabbi Yishmael, Lo Yishoma Apicha, Azhor Madir. Be frankly, I did not find this in the Chut Rabbi Yishmael, and I checked out the Kisvei Yad that are available to us in the Mechilta. The drasha is of Lo Yishama Apicha, for Yishova Lo B'Yerasai. But this is in the Mechilta of Rabbi Yishim B'Yochai. But here he says, V'chein Omer Mechilta Rabbi Yishmael Chesed. I don't know what to say, but that's what it is. V'oiva Avzeh Chayiv Skila. Losh Gmor Sanhedrin Madiche Nidachas B'Skila. So I told you there's no Mefurish Pasuk B'Skila. It's only a limud. Faiz boy Mishtei Mitzvazo Basiri Me Sanhedrin. That's the Gemara on Pei Tesam Beis I mentioned before. That the Gemara is a Torah Rabbanon, Madiche Nidachas, B'Skila Rabbi Shimon Oime B'Chenek, Madiche Nidachas B'Skila. My time the Rabbanon Gemiri Hadocha Omi Mesis Omi Novi Sheidiach. That's the Rabbanon learned. There's a Chiv Skila. Rabbi Shimon Goma Hadocha Mi Novi. Say it. Okay, that is here. Now, the mitzvah of Mesis is a separate mitzvah, and that's the Ram's next mitzvah he's talking about. The mitzvah Shem, we'll pick this up next week.